My name is Cooper Rokop, and I'm here to talk about China's global themes in 2021. This is a detailed map of China as of 2021. The first major global theme in China is population growth. China's population growth has been declining since the mid-70s, even before the one-child policy was put into place in 1979. Population growth in China in the 2020 census was at 0.53%. China's population over 60 rose about 5% since 2010, while the population between 15 and 59 dropped about 7% since 2010. Chinese mothers birthed 12 million babies in 2020. This is a drop of 22% of 2019. This is well below what China needs to keep a stable population. Why this matters? This matters because China is the biggest exporter of goods in the world and uses cheap labor of children and adults, of young adults, to produce these exports. If the population demographic in China keeps decreasing, there will be less cheap labor available. This will cause an increase in cost and scarcity of Chinese exports, which will make consumers in the United States have less purchasing power of Chinese goods, which makes up the majority of consumer goods in the United States. The next major global theme is environmental degradation. The 6 heaviest polluted cities in the world are all located in one province in China, Hebei. PM 2.5 and PM 10 are short for particles with a diameter of less than 2.5 and 10 micrometers, respectively. PM 10 levels in Beijing are as high as 6,450 micrograms per meter. The daily maximum set by the World Health Organization is 50 micrograms per millimeter. PM 2.5 levels in Beijing were at 209 on March 5th, 2021. Anything above 201 on the World Air Quality Index is considered very unhealthy. Why this matters? An estimated 1.1 million people die from air pollution every year, and this number is rising. China is the #1 air polluter in the world, and its rapidly growing economy relies on fossil fuels. These pollutants travel all around the world and reach people's lungs all the way in the Americas. If you do not make China use better techniques for burning coal or using nuclear fission reactors, death due to pollution will continue to rise exponentially around the world. Third global theme is declining resources. Most of China's coal, used for its economic rise to power, is from the Jiangxi province and Jiangxi's Madrid mines. Most of the Madrid mines were depleted in 2012. In 2001, China's State Council announced Fuxin, a city in northeast of Beijing, was resource exhausted due to depletion of local coal mines. In the Jiangxi province, the city of Jiangdezhan, which was known for its high clay deposits, has been exploited for its clay for the last 100 years. Now, only about 1 million tons of clay remain, which is a staggering 2% of the area's original reserves. This matters because although China is now attempting to use more renewable energy after realizing its heavy dependence on coal, China is not going to have the technology to make nuclear and solar energy the norm in their vast nation in the near future. Therefore, if China depletes their coal reserves before this occurs, the second biggest economy in the world will start having an issue of manufacturing all the goods it exports, which is not good for the United States with the amount of exports that we get from China. The next global theme of China is migration. China has the biggest migration of people within a nation in the world, about 230 million people. This migration is due to the widening wealth gap between the rich urban people and the poor rural Chinese. These migrants can only get jobs in the cheap labor market, which are jobs at restaurants and construction sites in cities. Chinese citizens are beholden to the Hoku system. It limits one's legal residence to his or her place of family origin. Therefore, these migrants that are in these big cities and taking these cheap labor jobs are illegally in these urban areas of China and cannot grow financially like the legal urban citizens. This matters because migrant workers have been fighting for the rights to live in different parts of China to allow themselves to make a better living than their parents. Since the number of illegal migrants is growing, the Chinese Communist Party has been forced to make changes, and Xi Jinping has pledged to address this inequality and outrage. If the CCP can actually keep the promise of giving its citizens more freedom, it will make China a freer and better place to live. Scarcity and poverty in China. China had 750 million of its citizens living in poverty in 1990. These are people living with less than $1.90 per day. Now, on November 24th, 2020, China announced that they lifted all of those people out of poverty. This was done by building 700,000 miles of new roads to rural parts of western China, like Tibet in Zhejiang Uyghur province, and building economic opportunities in their towns or villages, bringing them to the eastern coast of China. However, while this may sound like an amazing feat, these people are not making much more than the poverty line of $1.90, and many of the relocated civilians had their villages destroyed where their families had spent generations. This matters because China forcefully removed citizens from their native villages and destroyed them so they could tell the world that they no longer have poverty. This is disgusting. This shows how controlling China is in the policies that they've enacted. This can hopefully make people realize that communism is not good for anyone except for the rich elite that benefit. The next global theme of China is the conflict that is within and around its boundaries. China and India are disputing over their border with each other in the Himalayas. It started to turn violent in 2020, but tensions have fallen due to the COVID-19 pandemic. The main conflict in and around China is a centuries-old conflict of who owns the South China Sea. This conflict is mainly between China, Vietnam, and the Philippines. China has been building militarized islands in the South China Sea. This is so China can claim the 12 nautical mile radius of territory around the islands, as well as a 200 nautical mile radius of economic zone around the islands. This matters because China's ultimate goal in claiming the whole South China Sea as their own is for claiming superiority in the area, not for calming the disputes in the area, although that's what the CCP claims. Building the islands allows only China to fish and extract the trillions of cubic feet of natural gas within the 200 nautical mile radius of the islands. If China gets its way with these economic zones, it will severely damage the Philippines and Vietnam's fishing economy. This will ensure that Communist China is a superpower in Southeast Asia. The final common theme in China's global themes is discrimination. Chinese migrants, as described earlier, who are from rural parts of China and major cities like Shanghai, have little access to public services and are frequently subjected to harassment from local law enforcement authorities. Also, African Americans have been denied access to restaurants, shopping centers, and were the first to get evicted from their apartments due to the pandemic when they could not pay their rent. The Uyghurs living in the Jiangxi Uyghur Autonomous Region in the far west China have been discriminated against in recent years. China has been increasing their surveillance and political presence in the community. They also have been detaining them for long periods of time with no reason and sending them to political re-education camps. Why this matters. China needs to be exposed in the mainstream media of the United States and across the world of how racially discriminatory they are, even though China has claimed to not tolerate discrimination. If the United States companies stop embracing China and sending their money to their government, China will have to make human rights changes in order to be economically prosperous. So, these are the major issues facing China and evidently the world. China needs to make these key changes in its resource consumption and its treatment of civilians in order to be truly successful as a nation. Thank you for your time and your attention.